Hello everyone, welcome to the very last video of Module 1A where we'll be talking about our workstation and how to plan to build a computer. So we'll be looking at how to choose our components by summarizing everything we learned so far, and also we'll look at peripherals because computers are not fun if we can't interact and look at stuff and look what the computer is doing. So let's start off with choosing our components. Step 1, you want to determine the purpose and the budget for your build. So first of all, what major softwares are you going to use? And you need to make sure that your computer that you're planning to build can support your major software, right? Next, you want to talk about your budget. If you don't do any high intensive work on your computer, you don't need an expensive computer. You might want an expensive computer, but you don't need it. So usually economy or cheap builds start from 300 to 500. Next, you have the medium level builds where you can play certain games and certain softwares to their specifications, so they run around 500, 800. Then you get to the expensive builds where you have multiple graphics cards, lights built in, all the fans and all the liquid cooling that you can get, and multiple hard drive bays and a very nice case. And you even spend more money so that all your components within your case are matching in color. So, and lastly, next thing you have to know is how big should the computer be. Sometimes if you're good with clunky computers, you can get cheap cases and whatnot, but sometimes you might want a little tiny case, so that means you have to find a very good mini ITX motherboard and smaller cases, and that might also influence your budget as well and the purpose. Step number 2 is to research and plan. So you want to use all the tools that are available to find your components because this is your computer. Right? You're not going into Best Buy and buying a pre-built computer and saying it's done. You know all these components now, and you can probably save a lot of money by having a lot better computer than the pre-built computers that you find on Best Buy. So you first want to know all the sellers that sell components like Amazon, NCIX, Newegg, Canada Computers, and much more. You want to research these stores around your area. Then you want to use something like PC Part Picker, where you get to map out your build theoretically and see how that would work in terms of pricing and whatnot. Also, you also need a PSU calculator. Think back, all our components use a certain amount of wattage, so you want to have a PSU that can support that. Remember, you always want 100 watts more than your system's requirement. Next, you want to look at your calendar because Black Friday and Boxing Days are historically the best days to buy your components. Or you can go on these sellers' websites and their stores 365 days of the year to get your best deals. And lastly, always, you want to read reviews and read guides and make sure you buy the best available for your budget and your purpose. Step number 3, we're now actually starting to plan our build. We want to choose a processor. Processor will help us determine the type of motherboard we need and if we need a graphics card. If there is no integrated graphics in our processor, we probably need a graphics card or a motherboard that comes with graphics. Next, do we need to buy a CPU cooler? Some processors won't come with this own heatsink, so if it doesn't have one, it is a must to have a CPU cooler, and sometimes it is recommended that you don't even use the one that it comes with the processor, that you buy a CPU cooler that is better than the one that comes with the CPU. So for example, we have this Intel Pentium G456D processor, and if you look at the title, it looks very daunting and scary. So let's separate that into its importance. So first, it is called the Intel Pentium G4560. It's from the generation of processors from Intel called the Kaby Lake processors, and its number of cores is a dual core processor, so it has 2 cores, so 2 instructions per second. And then it has a socket type of LGA1151. It comes from a family of CPUs which are classified as LGA1151. This is important because we need to find a motherboard that supports LGA1151 processors. Next, the clock speed is 3.5 gigahertz. It's very fast. It does 3.5 billion instructions per second. And it has integrated graphics, so we don't even need a graphics card if we use this processor. So now we know what CPU we've chosen, we can choose a motherboard. So once a motherboard is chosen, it will help us determine a bunch of new things because we know what motherboards we need now. We need a motherboard that supports LGA1151 processors. So once we get that motherboard, it will help us determine what RAM sticks do we need, how big does our case need to be, the number of PCI and external slots will determine the number of expansion cards we can install, and the number of SATA ports will determine the number of hard drives we can install as well. So let's look at another example from Newegg. This is the Asus Prime Z270-A LG1151 Intel-based motherboard. Once again, looks very daunting, so I've separated into the stuff to the right. So it's socket type, the most important, where it must fit into our CPU. Our CPU must fit into our motherboard. It then supports LGA1151 as an Intel-based motherboard. Chipset, it comes with Intel Z270, so there will be different classifications or in different chipsets that comes with different motherboards, and you want to research and get the best ones. The form factor of this motherboard is ATX. If you recall, this is the biggest size of motherboard we can get, so our case needs to fit ATX-based motherboards. This RAM types that it supports is DDR4 with 288 pins. Now, on the title itself, it doesn't say it supports 288 pins. You'll have to go down the site below and click on the specifications. Also, it talks about the RAM speed that it supports, which are measured in megahertz, all the way from 3,866 all the way down to 2,133. And if we look at also the specification on the website itself, it talks about how it's a dual channel memory slot. And if you look at the picture, there are two slots for RAM which are black and are also gray, so you kind of can tell that it's a dual channel motherboard as well. And the specification also states that there are 7 different PCI slots, so we can install 7 different expansion cards. So we chose the processor and the case, so now we want to choose we chose the motherboard and a processor, so we want to choose a case. So these are some of the factors when choosing a case. Does it support your motherboard? As in, can it fit your motherboard? If you get a case that's too small, that won't be good, or if it's too big, that's not good either. Does it have enough room for all your hard drive needs? Does it have the bays, disk drive bays where you can put your hard drives on? Does it have the ports that you need? On the outside, does it have USB ports? Does it have maybe a microphone jack or a headphone jack? Is it well reviewed for airflow? If you're not planning to get liquid cooling, you might want a case that is well reviewed so that air goes in and out really well. Lastly, does it support liquid cooling? Does it give you enough space to install liquid cooling systems to your computer? So our example here is Corsair Carbide Series 270R. Its size is a medium, ATX medium, so it supports ATX motherboards first of all, but it's medium size, so it's not the big full tower that you can get. Power supplies are not included, which is actually very important because some cases do come with power supplies, but my philosophy is that you should be buying your own power supplies that are well reviewed and supporting your computer. Next, drive bays. There are no 5.25 inch drive bays, but there are 2 3.5 inch drive bays, so we can install 2 3.5 inch hard drives. So let's choose a RAM. So RAM size right here, I have chosen Corsair Vengeance LPS 16 gigabytes. Remember that our motherboard is dual channel, so it comes in 2 sticks of 8 gigabytes and has 288 pins and it is a DDR4. Our motherboard supports a speed of 3000 megahertz as well, so this will be a perfect RAM to choose for our computer. You can get 2 sets of these to get 32 gigabytes of RAM. You just have to make sure you plug them in the right colored spots. Next, we choose our hard drive. When choosing a hard drive, these are the factors you look at. How many SATA slots does your motherboard have? Remember our motherboard and the case, to be honest. Our case had 3.5 inch bays for our hard drives, so we can probably get 2 of these. And also, do you want a hard disk drive or a solid state? I personally went with the solid state drives to wound up because speed matters and I don't have a lot of data on my computer. And how much memory do you need? This is 256 instead of really big 1 terabyte disk drives. And we got it in SATA form so that we can just install it onto our case. Then after we chose all those main components, we can choose some extra components. Do we need graphics card? Then we can get graphics card. We can also get audio and sound cards if you want to build a mixtape or whatnot. You can get network cards if you want to connect your computer using Wi-Fi instead of Ethernet cables. You can also get optical disk drives to read disks or to write on disks. And also you can get extra cooling such as liquid cooling system or more fans. And lastly, we choose our very important piece, which is these PSUs. So first, you want to calculate the wattage. The current build has Intel Pentium G4560 processor, Corsair DDR4 RAM, which are two of them, and Samsung 256GB solid state. So we're estimating that with our calculator, that it will be around 174 wattage, and so we're looking at a PSU size around 250 watts or more. And always remember, the factors that you want to consider when buying a PSU is first, choose a reputable brand. So you want the best brand possible. Make sure it hits the wattage requirements. Make sure it's efficient. If you want modular cabling for tidiness within your build, you want to have modular PSUs. And also the form factor. Make sure it fits into your cable. And that is it. We had planned out our computer, but computer's not fun without peripherals. So what are peripherals? Peripherals are devices that is used to put information into and get information out of the computer, and there are three different types: input devices such as mice and keyboards, output devices such as monitor, printers, and input-output devices like all-in-one printers and etc. So let's start with choosing a mouse. A mouse is a device that is used for click-based inputs with a graphical cursor, just like this one. So factors to consider when choosing a mouse: first is comfort. The mouse should be comfortable for your grip. Then we look at DPI, which is dots per inch. It's the ability to change the DPI so that you can help the accuracy and the sensitivity of your mouse as you move it around the screen. Next is polling rate, is the rate which reports its position back to the computer. So if I'm here, how fast is it doing that, as in terms of reporting it back to the computer so that I can see it on my screen. Next, most simple mice will come with left wheel and right click setups, but you can get complex mice where they have multiple buttons to the side where you can customize them to your own likings or do stuff with them. And lastly, when you buy a mouse, it will come with this built-in software which will provide you some customization such as polling rate, DPI, or even changing the lights that come on your mouse. Next, we choose a keyboard. It is a device used to type instruction text and commands to a computer. And the factors that you want to consider are size and comfort. The keyboard should be comfortable for typing, especially for ergonomic issues. And then you might want to consider mechanical keys instead of non-mechanical keys. Mechanical keys use mechanical switches for the keys instead of electrical current under the plastic membranes for non-mechanical keys. What this really does is mechanical keys provide better tactile feedback like a typewriter. So people do say that mechanical keys provide more accuracy when typing on a keyboard. Lastly, we can choose a monitor. It's a visual display that renders graphical information provided by the computer. There are four factors when considering a monitor. First is resolution, which is a measure of pixel density. So the greater the resolution, you get a smoother image. Then we have a refresh rate measured in hertz. Higher rates mean less input lag time, therefore better responsiveness. This is huge for high-end gamers where they want fast responsiveness so that they can see what's happening on the screen better. Size. The size of the monitor will be user's choice. Do you want 21 inches or do you want 38 inches, right? It really depends on how big your monitor you want it to be. Next is the color accuracy. If you're doing a lot of color work, especially with Photoshop or video editing, you might 8-bit is norm, but you might want to higher all the way to 12 bits. But a little tricky thing is that you have to have a graphics card or integrated graphics that can support high bit accuracy. So that was it. We learned how to plan a computer. Thank you for watching the entire Module 1A where we talked about hardware. And today we talked about choosing your components and looking at peripherals. So thank you for watching and stay classy.